If you are watching this video just after the upload, then I guarantee there's at least one anime on this list that you haven't watched. I'm Unseen Whispers, and here is 5 anime like Overlord. Then are you able to guess what waifu this is? Stick around to find out. Number 1. The Misfit of Demon King Academy. Arnos, the strongest demon lord, uses his unrivaled magic power to reincarnate himself into the future. Upon waking up 2,000 years later, Arnos finds his descendants to be extremely weak in comparison to his previous life. Seeking to reclaim his throne as the Demon King, Arnos enrolls at Demon King Academy. You're probably wondering, why haven't I heard of this anime yet? It's scheduled to air July 4th, but we can speculate how it's at least somewhat like Overlord. To begin with, they both have a fantasy setting that takes place in another world, and in both anime, the protagonist is blatantly overpowered. Look, I'm aware I could be completely wrong here, but I can guarantee that you haven't watched this anime yet. If you're watching this in the future, just ignore that last part. Now, I would argue that on paper, this anime is the most similar of the list. Number 2. Demon Lord Retry. Akira Ono, the creator of the MMORPG known as Infinity Game, is preparing to shut down the servers for good. Just as the game is shutting down, he is magically whisked away into a world all too similar to Infinity Game. He now finds himself inside the body of Infinity Game's greatest demon lord, and while trying to get his bearings, he comes across a blonde-haired girl named Aku. This is very unexpected because Akira doesn't remember creating this character, or the demon that is currently attacking her. After easily saving Aku from the demon, she begins traveling with him as his guide. This odd duo sets out to try and figure out how and why Akira was summoned into this world. Demon Lord Retry is very much like Overlord. Both anime have an average working adult who gets transported into a video game that they know like the back of their hand. Then both protagonists wind up inside the body of an obnoxiously powerful monster, who is seen as the evil entity in their respective worlds. Now, the main difference is that Overlord has a mildly dark mood, while Demon Lord Retry is extremely lighthearted. One unique aspect of this anime is that the protagonist has the ability to switch between different characters, but other than that, it's just your typical cliche isekai. It's definitely not bad, but it's not exactly my go-to recommendation. If Albedo is your favorite waifu, or maybe you're just more of a cultured anime watcher, then this one is for you. Number 3. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Takuma Sakamoto is completely obsessed with the online game Cross Revere. He is the game's strongest character, Demon King Diablo, and is known for being ruthless and merciless. Takuma is completely content with his shut-in neat life, but all of a sudden he finds himself being magically summoned into a fantasy world by 2 very beautiful girls. Immediately after being summoned, the girls try to enslave Takuma using magic, but he is now in Demon King Diablo's body, so the spell is reflected back onto the 2 girls. Demon King Diablo, along with his 2 newest slaves, begin exploring this fantasy world which is all too similar to his favorite online game. So, the similarities between How Not to Summon a Demon Lord and Overlord are the exact same as the previous entry. To summarize, we have a protagonist who gets isekai'd into his favorite video game as his in-game evil character, which just so happens to be the strongest entity in the world. Honestly, I didn't even finish the first episode of this anime. I dipped out right about here. I didn't quit because it was bad. Personally, I'm just not a fan of this type of ecchi anime. That being said, I do have 2 friends who finished How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, and they completely loved it. So if you don't mind watching extremely ecchi anime, then you may want to check this one out. Here we have the most terrifying monster in all of anime. Number 4. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. In an effort to save his friend, Satoru, a virgin businessman, winds up getting stabbed and killed. Just before dying, he says 2 things. First and most importantly, he asks his friend to wipe his computer's hard drive. And second, he vows that in his next life, he will be more of a predator and sleep with every girl he can. All of a sudden, Satoru wakes up in a cave within the body of a slime. Of course, slimes are an extremely weak monster, but he just so happens to have the predator skill. Predator allows him to acquire the skills and abilities of anything he consumes. He quickly uses Predator to consume anything and everything within the cave, which causes him to gain numerous powerful and versatile skills. It doesn't take long before he realizes that even though he is a mere slime, he is actually one of the most powerful monsters in this entire world. That time I got reincarnated as a bouncy boy has a lot in common with Overlord. Both anime have a similar setting, with the main characters being transformed into monsters and being stuck inside a fantasy world. Then of course, Satoru is extremely powerful to the point that almost nothing can hurt him, which is of course similar to Ainz from Overlord. Then both protagonists even have a settlement that they rule over as a king. I assume everyone here has watched That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, but if you haven't, put away what you're watching and go binge watch this anime. I can't help but to feel like this video is missing something. I got it. We don't have a borderline sadistic lolly yet. Number 5. Saga of Tanya the Evil. After challenging God, and losing, a Japanese businessman wound up being reincarnated into a fantasy world which has technology similar to what you'd expect to see in the 1900s. He is now residing in the body of a little girl named Tanya, but he still has the same ruthless personality from his previous life. Refusing to give in to God, Tanya joins the military and quickly begins climbing through the ranks. She is almost unrivaled on the battlefield, claiming victory after victory while pushing her country into a world power. God may be the only obstacle that Tanya can't overcome, but she is bound and determined to continue trying. Saga of Tanya the Evil shares a lot of the same similarities as the other anime I mentioned. Our protagonist gets isekai'd into a fantasy world and becomes one of the strongest beings in that world. Then just like Ainz-sama, our cute little Tanya is an anti-hero, and both anime have an overall dark feel to them. Saga of Tanya the Evil is an all-around fantastic anime, especially if you like World War I type of stuff. Just don't expect any kindness to come from Tanya. Were you able to guess what waifu this is? It's Maple from Bofuri. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out my anime recommendations on Sword Art Online and Shield Hero. Thanks for watching everyone, I hope to see you next time.